Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salalo Makudi. The time is 6 minutes before top of the hour 9, and we're going to be switching gears now to a very, very important topic. In the next few days, South Africa will be hosting the G20 Leaders Summit here in Johannesburg, the first time the summit convenes on African soil. And the theme is an interesting one. The theme is solidarity, equality, and sustainability. But while world leaders will be gathering, behind these closed doors, millions and millions of ordinary people, workers, students, caregivers, and artists and community members are asking, will this event change our lives? Will it have any impactful, tangible change to my day-to-day living? And that's where the global movement, we the 99%, comes in. They argue the decisions of the 1% must stop shaping our future and our realities. From the 20th to the 22nd of November, the People's Summit will take place at Constitutional Hill in Johannesburg. And many might see it as a side event to the G20, but I think it's a bit more than that. It's a people's agenda to change, get justice, tax fairness, climate finance, workers' rights, and more things that affect us on a day-to-day basis. And joining us live via our virtual platform is Jenny Ricks, General Secretary of Fighting Inequality Alliance. And we'll be asking, how should everyday South Africans, interact with the G20? Are there key takeaways that, when it's all said and done and, the summit is over, we should be holding on to? And most importantly, how do we turn a summit like this one less into a talk shop, but into, a real lives changed kind of action moment? And Jenny, as I mentioned, is joining us via our virtual platform. And good morning for joining us, Jenny. Welcome to Salam Media. Really appreciate you giving us your time.
Good morning. Yeah, thanks for having me.
To begin, as I mentioned, for many ordinary people, ordinary South Africans, the G20 can feel a bit distant. How would you explain the relevance of the summit in Johannesburg to someone, working a small business or a student or just a random household that's struggling with debt? How important is it? How should ordinary people be interacting with it?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people listening, it's going to feel very remote, isn't it? These big international summits don't necessarily mean very much on the ground when you're struggling with the cost of living or finding a job, the real issues that are going on in people's lives. But I think I would encourage us to see it as an opportunity in a different way, beyond just hearing that the roads are closing around Johannesburg, or you're reading media articles about hotels being booked out by heads of state. I think it's an opportunity for us to kind of examine and put forward what we think it will really take to transform the economy. The G20 is the world's biggest economies, right? It's all of those countries talking together about, the big rules, the big systems that drive the global economy. And those do shape our lives. The big systems at play do have a huge impact on the day-to-day struggles that people are talking about, are thinking about, are struggling against in their communities, in the different ways that people take action. So what we think, with We the 99 is actually South Africa hosting this G20 summit is an opportunity for people to put forward what changes in the economy would really look like. Something very, very different from the economy that we have at the moment that serves the very richest, the 1%, as you said in your introduction, and something that would actually work for the majority of people. So while this international spotlight comes to South Africa in the next couple of weeks, we're using it as an opportunity and inviting people, to come in and say what they think will make a difference in their lives. So it's an opportunity, rather than expecting somehow miraculously a big international summit that has not been delivering for ordinary people. We don't just magically hope that it will. That's kind of magical thinking. But if we put forward what we think will really make a difference, then we can use this opportunity to push for much bigger changes.
There's some, key outlines, that you guys are making when it comes to the G20 and the impact that you wanted to have. And one was a conversation around debt justice. Could you outline, just how global debt burdens translate into real hardship, for communities, for the layman and women on the ground, and what you expect from G20 leaders to change in that regard?
Right. Yeah. So that this is one of those big issues: debt justice, debt cancellation. That we're making those linkages. So globally, developing countries, global South countries predominantly, have been forced into this system where they have to undertake. They take loans, they take credit, and it's extremely expensive to pay it back. And the power dynamics, the history of all of this, means that countries end up paying back far more money than is fair, than is reasonable. So what the current situation that's been escalating over recent years means that a lot of countries across Africa and the rest of the global South are paying out of the national budget every single year, are paying more towards servicing those debt repayments to creditors than the country is spending on health, on education, the tangible things that the listeners will be thinking are a big issue in their lives. The healthcare that you can access for you and your family, the kind of education your child is currently getting, or if you're planning a family in the future, those bread and butter issues around health and education, actually they're affected by the debt system, and a debt system that is built very much in the kind of colonial principles, a financial system that doesn't serve the global majority around the world. So what we're doing as part of this summit is linking those issues that will be something you have very strong feelings about with the big picture things that need to change. And currently what the G20 is talking about is very, very weak, very, very mild changes to try and sort of manage this debt problem. But there's no structural solutions coming, because the countries involved in propping up this debt system aren't going to be the ones to transform it and demand a cancellation of that debt. So what we're saying is actually, if the global economy worked really in people's interests, then we'd cancel that debt. And our governments need to hear that message loud and clear, because it's not fair, it's not right that citizens, everyday folks across the global South, are paying the price for that debt system in a lack of health services, in a lack of education. That's people's futures denied. That's lives lost. It's real life and death issues, actually.
Yeah, most definitely. I want to talk about the People's Summit. What's that all about? For someone listening now, why should they care about it, and how can they participate in that specific event? And what would you guys consider a success coming out of it?
So the People's Summit is when we get to come together across lots of different countries. There's been people in communities across Asia, Latin America, other parts of Africa, discussing these issues over the last few months, talking about how they see the problems or experiencing the problems of inequality, of things in the economy that are really affecting their lives, and the solutions that they want to see, both from their own governments and also at the international level. That's been happening across many countries, and it comes together in Johannesburg. People will come together from across South Africa, across these different countries, to sort of put together what this agenda for change looks like, the kinds of changes we've been talking about just now, about debt cancellation, the kinds of changes where we need to tax the richest in every country, and at a global level, we need to tax the richest more and spend that money on the basic services, on the basic income grants that people need in every country. So the People's Summit is going to be an opportunity for people to come together from a lot of different countries and feel connected in that struggle. I think it's really important that people can see and hear that they're not alone in this struggle, because sometimes, it can feel like the issues that you're struggling with in your community or in your country, it feels like, progress can be really slow. It feels like you're really, a lot of activists say to me sometimes, I really feel like I'm on my own with this. And actually we're not. The problems faced and the energy and the solutions that people are working towards in different countries is amazing. So when people come together and they can hear actually the roots of these problems, yes, there's differences between each country, of course, people aren't exactly the same, but the roots of these problems and the global system driving it is very, very similar across so many countries. And so by coming together, we can spell out what this agenda is. We can use it as a moment to put forward a declaration and really share that message very widely as the G20 itself, the heads of state, start to meet. They'll meet together on the 22nd of November and the 23rd. Our summit and the message coming out of it will provide a counterpoint that actually, by organizing together, in our countries and then across countries, we still have an opportunity, a possibility to turn the economy that we have into something that's much more fit for purpose. The economy should be about caring for each other, caring for ourselves, caring for the planet that we live on, not about creating violence in our lives, not about creating such hardship, such competition, such violence between us, with the planet. It can be something very, very different. So success for us coming out of the People's Summit is to take the space to project a really different message and say, what the G20 is talking about doesn't represent the aspirations, the solutions that are coming from people across the world, the expectations we have of what the economy needs to do for all of us and to do for our societies isn't being met. But we have an opportunity to change that.
No, most definitely. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate your time. And hope we chat again soon after the G20, after the People's Summit, just to reflect on some of those successes. But I think really wonderful initiative. And again, hope we chat soon. Goodbye for now.
Thank you. Thanks.
There you go, Jenny Ricks, General Secretary of Fighting Inequality Alliance. Yeah, I think very, very important points that she's making there. And to our listeners, you listening right now, looking at the G20, looking at, this big international summit that's going to be taking place here in Johannesburg. Does it resonate with you? Do you connect with it? Do you think it's important? And do you think it will have a lasting, tangible impact on your life, or you just don't care? Especially for the people that are living in Johannesburg, because everything is just happening around us. There's so much development that you're seeing. City of Johannesburg getting a facelift. That do you care? Do you care that there's going to be this international summit with all these global leaders that are going to be talking about very, very important aspects of our day-to-day lives, whether it's the economy, it's global healthcare, it's taxes, it's debt, as Jenny alluded to, and just global diplomacy? Can engage with us. Our studio line is 0116800355. On WhatsApp, you can send us a voice note or a text message on 0617660355. Do you care about the G20 summit? Do you think the outcomes thereof are going to be affecting your life in any way, shape, or form as the 99%? Or do you think it's meant for that 1%? It's just for the elite global leaders. That's why they're meeting here. It's for their own personal, gain. It really doesn't mean anything to you and I as the layman and woman, especially of this country and of the African continent, where for the first time in its history, the G20 summit will be making its way to our shores. I think it's an interesting conversation because government is losing their minds over the G20. can see the injection and just excitement in our government circles, service delivery, or just the languaging coming out of the presidency and all the other different you know, elements of leadership. They're really taking it seriously, but at the end of the day, it is about you and I, you know, South Africans, people of the global South, and the people of you know, the world in general. Is it going to be another talk shop, or are there going to be positives that come out, that are coming out of it? And most importantly, do you care as a South African, as a Joburger, that world leaders will be converging here in your city to discuss very, very important elements of your day-to-day living? As I mentioned, you can engage with us on our WhatsApp studio line, and you can hit us with a comment on whatever platform that you're listening to right now. Going to take a quick break. News and reviews continues after this.